In the Apex Legends Pro League, one of the competing pro teams were caught making Smurfs and playing in the Challenger Circuit amateur brackets. And you would think that there's no way anyone would actually do this outside the antagonist in a teenager Disney movie, right? Well, it turns out that reality truly is stranger than fiction, because a few days ago the Team Heroes was dropped from their organization and the ALGS CZ finals that they were supposed to play in for severely breaking the rules, allegedly using third-party cheats, and putting their entire careers on the line just to play in another tournament and ruining the chances of some other specific teams in the tournament just because they didn't like them. And ain't that just straight out of High School Musical? I guess in a way, we're all in this together. The Heroes Apex Legends roster, formerly known as From Nowhere, consisting of Clemmy, Fako, and Babylons, made their names known in the Apex competitive scene all the way back in November 22. When they made use of Lifeline to dominate the Challenger Circuit and earning their own place in the Pro League qualifier. This unusually aggressive team ran through the rest of the teams who were competing for a spot in the ALGS Pro League with no issue at all, and even though they didn't get to close it out on the match point, From Nowhere had still amassed enough points where they would qualify straight into the Pro League, after which they were signed by Heroes, a NFT-based esports organization. And while Heroes had good results against amateur players and teams, with their aggressive playstyle being especially valuable against those teams that don't have that much confidence or good positioning or firing power or whatever, their results really varied as soon as they headed into the Pro League, and they never really managed to crack into the top 10 on any given game day, finishing in the 27th place out of the 30 teams that played in the Pro League that split. Being among one of the worst teams in the Pro League, Team Heroes was relegated into the last chance qualifier with the other bottom teams, with a chance to qualify into the yearly championship, as well as having a chance to be re-invited for year 4 of the Pro League based on their performance. But during their Pro League run, and in the time leading up to the last chance qualifier, the pro team was up to something nefarious. During the first and the third of the 4 Challenger Circuit tournaments, the team W key, and for the controller players, W key refers to blindly pushing forward and going for as many fights and kills as possible, was dominating the tournaments, living up to their name, pushing for tons of stupid fights, and pulling off insane feats of performance, and receiving an incredible amount of reports from fellow competitors. Because the plays they were pulling off were really impressive to say the least, especially when you take into account that to most of the players, this was a team consisting solely of level 50 gold ranked players. And when low-level golds dominate, masters and predators this hard, you know something is up. And to make matters worse, there were several documented occasions of Team WK landing on other established teams that are just trying to make a name for themselves in the amateur leagues, some of which that had direct beef with players on Team Heroes, and some others which we don't really know why exactly WK would choose to push, but it seemed like they mostly had something against their fellow Frenchmen. As the 3 most notable teams WK contested were Mind, Oracle, and Kizaron's team. After some teams shared their experiences with the team and the team's malicious nature, they started to notice a pattern and that something was afoot. So eventually, Amaz, a fellow French competitor, did some digging and found out what exactly was going on. One of the members of Team WK, Belial, which funnily enough is the Hebrew word used to characterize the wicked or worthless, made a bit of an oopsie. It turns out that if you pull up Belial's Steam profile, as with any Steam profiles, you can just press the little arrow on the side to see all of their recent nicknames. Out of all of these recent nicknames, FF Babylons was one of them. Now, obviously, anyone can just set their name to Babylons to, I guess, frame him, to have him drop and contest these people to make him look bad for whatever reason. So you could argue this wasn't really ironclad evidence. But it turns out that Babylons had been publicly using this account to play with another streamer called I'm Luxy under the alias Indori. And then Amas even provided a screenshot from Babylon's own Twitter, where he was playing on an account named Indori as well. So it's safe to say that one of the members of WK was Babylons from Heroes himself, and suddenly the implications of this weird low-level, low-ranked team became a little bit more sinister. After all of the news broke, Amaz, the original poster, ended up clarifying that he had received proof that not only did Team WK have the Pro League player Babylons playing on it, but it had the entirety of the Heroes roster along with him. Upon learning these news, Amez ended up immediately alerting the Heroes organization's owners of what was going on. And of course, some people might think that as a pro signing up into the amateur league of the ALGS and playing for funsies is no harm, no foul, right? But that's not really true, because there's only 2 Challenger Circuit tournaments per year, and to many teams, it's their only chance to show what they're made of and make it into the actual Pro League. You know, where they can play in front of an audience, where they can get paid, and where they can get signed into a professional organization. And I could see some people letting the situation slide because there's not a lot of practice for Pro League teams, if it weren't for the fact that Heroes not only smurfed and stomped lower tier teams, but they intentionally seeked out teams whose members they didn't personally like. They landed on them, they contested them, and tried to grief them to force them out of the tournaments early, turning it from just trying to have some additional fun or practice without thinking about the big picture, to straight up malicious and honestly inexcusable behavior. Not even 24 hours after the news broke, the pro team's reputation was completely in shambles. The team was removed from competing in the ALGS Challenger Circuit finals that they had qualified for under the fake name, and they were dropped from their organization, who released the following statement on Twitter. As part of today, we are splitting ways with our Apex roster. The players have been engaged in rule-breaking actions that go way over our values and what we have been praising without our consent. The organization followed up the initial announcement with some additional comments afterwards, seemingly defending the fact that the roster had played in the Challenger Circuit as there wasn't any new Pro League tournaments until October, but they ended up drawing the line once it was revealed that the team had been maliciously fighting specific teams that they have personal grudges against. The NFT organization finished their thoughts saying that these are young people who just joined the esports industry, and that they didn't support the angry messages that the organization had received, and ultimately said that it was up to EA to decide on what punishments that the pro team would receive. Clemmy spoke out on behalf of his teammates in a lengthy Twitter thread, opening with that Clemmy didn't want to defend their actions, but rather put them into context. Clemmy continued with defending their actions by explaining the beef between them and the teams that they had been targeting, stating that after being accused of cheating by one of those teams, they had posted a TikTok about the accusation, followed by one of the accusers threatening to attack Babylons if they met in real life. The other team that they had griefed had gotten Heroes disqualified due to a misunderstanding with the rule sets, followed by that one team denying Heroes the opportunity to practice and scrim. Clemmy also added that the person who had been threatening real-life consequences had been trash-talking the entire time as well. Clemmy explained that their primary goal of playing in the Challenger Circuit was to get practice in due to the absence of actual opportunities for practice for the upcoming Last Chance qualifier, with the pro scrim lobbies being poor practice, and their team being barred from participating in the scrims as mentioned previously. He admitted that when they found themselves in the same lobbies as any of these teams, they had just decided to contest them on drop and not change their point of interest afterwards. Clemmy then finished the thread with apologizing to those affected, and he added that they will be more vigilant against defamation in the future to stop this from happening again. It is very likely that the former Team Heroes will be removed from the Last Chance qualifier, as you aren't allowed to compete in the Challenger Circuit and the Pro League at the same time, which they only managed to do because they played on alternate accounts. And whether it is legal or not, it's incredibly scummy to specifically target some teams when you're playing on a smurf without any consequences, no matter the reason. And even though it wasn't explicitly stated in the rules, I could see how the ALGS would remove them for that reason alone. That being said, we probably won't see an announcement from EA, as they very rarely, if ever, comment on bans when it comes to competitive Apex, or I guess just the game in general, and very often just quietly ban accounts or teams without letting it hit the mainstream news, which would reflect poorly on the esport. All we can know for sure is that Team From Nowhere, consisting of Clemmy, Faku, and Babylons, have completely destroyed their reputation, and probably their esports careers, all for griefing some teams that they just didn't like. If you think it was worth it, make sure to drop a comment. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like, subscribe, and of course check out the video on the screen. It's a pretty good one, I promise. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.